All right, so you sent over a ton of stuff on happiness, articles and research, even some personal notes.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're really digging into this whole what makes us happy thing.
It's a great question.
It is, and luckily we've got an expert in the field to help us unpack it all.
Happy to be here. Excited to dive in.
So you also sent an episode of this podcast called Thoughtful Living.
Oh, yeah. I love that show.
Me too. And in it, the hosts, Ryan and Sophia, talked about happiness, right? Like being content. But they also talked about how it's not just fleeting joy. It's about a meaningful life overall.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think they really nailed it.
Yeah.
You know, in psychology, we talk about two types of well-being.
Okay, so two types.
Yeah, hedonic and eudaimonic. Hedonic is all about maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain.
So just those like instant good feelings.
Exactly. But eudaimonic, that's different. Deeper.
Deeper how?
It's more about purpose, meaning, virtue.
So not just like having fun and avoiding the bad stuff.
Right. It's about feeling like your life has significance. Like it matters.
I like that. Makes you think, huh?
And get this, researchers like Martin Seligman, real pioneers in positive psychology.
Oh, I have heard of him.
They found that only about 10% of our happiness comes from external circumstances.
10%. Really? You mean like how much money we have, social status, all that?
All that stuff. It doesn't impact happiness as much as we think.
Wow. So like what does determine our happiness then?
Well, our genes play a big role. About 50%.
Half of it is just like predetermined.
It seems that way, but here's a really cool part. About 40% is totally within our control.
Really?
It's based on our choices, our actions.
Okay, that is cool. So we're not just like stuck with a certain level of happiness.
Nope, we can actually work towards it, cultivate it.
That's empowering.
Isn't it?
But in that same episode, Ryan and Sophia also debunked some myths.
Oh.
Like the classic money buys happiness idea.
Oh, yeah, that one.
What's the truth about money and happiness?
Well, there's this study by Kahneman and Deaton. They found that happiness does increase with income, but only up to a point.
A point, like a limit.
Exactly, around $75,000 a year. After that, more money doesn't really equal more happiness.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
Well, once your basic needs are met, you feel financially secure. More money often brings more problems, more responsibility.
And probably more things to worry about.
Absolutely. And more comparisons to other people. It can actually lead to feeling empty if you're only focused on wealth.
So chasing money alone won't get you there. What about chasing, well, anything? Ryan and Sophia talked about that too. The myth that happiness comes from big milestones.
Oh, yes, that happily ever after fantasy. That's where the idea of the hedonic treadmill comes in.
The what? Hedonic treadmill.
Yeah, it basically means we adapt to changes in our lives, both good and bad.
Okay, but what does that mean for happiness?
So you finally get that dream job. You're ecstatic, right? But after a while, that excitement fades. You get used to it.
I see. So even big achievements don't make us happy forever.
Exactly. We adjust and go back to our baseline level of happiness. It's like running on a treadmill, always striving for the next thing.
So instead of chasing the next big goal, the next achievement,
it's about enjoying the journey.
finding happiness in the present moment.
Exactly. And that's something Sophia from the podcast really emphasized. Gratitude.
Gratitude, huh? What's so special about that?
It's about shifting your focus from what you don't have to what you do have, appreciating the good things.
Okay, but does that really make a difference?
It really does. It changes your perspective. And studies have shown it can actually rewire your brain, strengthens those happiness pathways.
Wow, so it's not just a feel-good thing. It's actually backed by science.
Absolutely. Plus, it reduces stress hormones like cortisol, makes you feel calmer.
So it makes you happier, healthier. What other benefits are there?
Well, grateful people tend to be kinder, more helpful, more supportive.
That makes sense.
It strengthens relationships, which in turn makes you happier. It's a positive cycle.
Gratitude really is powerful stuff. Now, Ryan from Thoughtful Living talked about mindfulness a lot.
Ah, mindfulness, another great tool.
What is mindfulness exactly, and how does it connect to happiness?
It's all about paying attention to the present moment without judgment, noticing your thoughts and feelings, but not getting carried away by them.
So not dwelling on the past or stressing about the future.
Exactly. Just being present in the here and now. Remember Ryan talked about finding peace through mindfulness?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's a common benefit.
But how do you actually practice mindfulness?
There are lots of techniques. Meditation is a popular one.
I've heard of meditation, but never really tried it. Is it hard?
Well, at first your mind might wander a lot, but with practice, you get better at noticing those thoughts and gently bringing your attention back to the present.
So it's like a mental workout.
In a way, yes. And the benefits go beyond just relaxation. It can reduce stress, improve focus, even make you more compassionate.
That's incredible. It seems like mindfulness could be a game changer for a lot of people.
It really can.
So gratitude, mindfulness, these seem like really useful tools for being happier. What else did Ryan and Sophia talk about that stuck with you?
Well, they brought up something that I think is really important, but people don't always talk about it.
What's that?
Meaningful connections. Relationships.
Oh, yeah, totally. We're social creatures, right? We need that connection.
Exactly. And it's not just about feeling good. The research actually shows that strong relationships are one of the biggest predictors of happiness and well-being, too.
So, like, having close friends actually makes you happier.
It really does. Some studies even suggest that it can impact your physical health.
No way. So it's not just about feeling good, it's about living longer.
It seems that way,
Yeah.
but it's not just about the number of friends you have.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about the quality of those connections. Feeling seen, heard, supported.
So it's about close, deep relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what else ties into this? Giving back, helping others.
Oh, interesting.
Ryan and Sophia talked about that too. How acts of kindness, even small ones, can boost your own happiness.
So, like, doing something nice for someone else makes you feel good.
Yeah. There's a ton of research on this now. Altruism, volunteering, even just little acts of kindness.
It all helps.
It can really boost your mood, reduce stress, and give you a sense of purpose. Like your life has meaning.
It's like everyone wins. You make someone else happy and you feel happier too.
It's true. It's pretty amazing.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me from that thoughtful living episode
Yeah.
was this idea of mindset, how our mindset impacts our happiness. They talked about a growth mindset.
Ah, yes, the growth mindset.
Hmm.
That's a really powerful concept.
What is it exactly?
It's the belief that your abilities and intelligence can grow and change, through effort and learning.
So it's not like you're just stuck with whatever you were born with.
Exactly. It's the opposite of a fixed mindset, where you think everything is set in stone.
I see. So with a growth mindset, you see challenges as opportunities to learn and get better.
That's it. People with a growth mindset tend to be more resilient. They embrace challenges instead of getting discouraged. And they don't see failure as the end of the world.
So they're more optimistic, more hopeful.
Exactly. And those are key ingredients for happiness.
But doesn't that mean you're always striving?
Yeah.
Always pushing yourself? Doesn't that sound exhausting?
That's a good point. A growth mindset isn't about pushing yourself to the point of burnout. It's more about recognizing that you can always learn and grow, and being okay with stepping outside your comfort zone sometimes.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Balance between challenge and self-compassion. And Ryan from the podcast talked a lot about self-compassion.
Self-compassion. What is that exactly?
It's about treating yourself with kindness. The same kindness you would offer a good friend.
That's a good way to put it.
It's about understanding that everyone makes mistakes, and that you're still worthy of love and acceptance, even when you mess up.
We can be so hard on ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in that negative self-talk.
It's true, and that inner critic can really steal your joy.
Yeah.
Self-compassion is about quieting that voice, replacing it with a more supportive one.
Being your own cheerleader instead of your own worst enemy.
Exactly. It's about recognizing your struggles without judgment, offering yourself encouragement, just like you would to a friend.
So it's not about making excuses. It's about being kind to yourself, even when things are tough.
Exactly. And that can really help you break free from shame and self-criticism, which are huge barriers to happiness.
One thing I found really interesting in Ryan and Sophia's conversation was this word eudaimonia.
Ah, yes, eudaimonia, a great word.
I have to look it up. It seems like a fancy word for happiness, but deeper, more meaningful.
You're right. It's often translated as flourishing or living well. It goes beyond those surface level pleasures.
So it's more about purpose and meaning, like what Ryan and Sophia were talking about.
Exactly. It's about aligning your actions with your values, contributing to something bigger than yourself.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that's where we see the connection to meaningful relationships and giving back. When you're doing things that align with your values, connecting with others in a genuine way, and making a positive impact on the world.
You feel a sense of purpose, like your life has meaning.
Exactly. You tap into that deeper sense of fulfillment that's at the heart of eudaimonia.
And that's what Ryan and Sophia were doing, right?
Yeah, it seems that way. Ryan found meaning through his work and spending time with his family. Sophia focused on her creative pursuits and connecting with people.
So there's no one right way to find eudaimonia.
Right. It's about figuring out what truly matters to you, what makes you feel alive and engaged, and then pursuing those things with passion and intention.
So it's about creating a life that feels authentic, a life that's true to yourself.
Absolutely. And recognizing that it's a journey. It's not about reaching some perfect state of happiness.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. There will be challenges along the way, ups and downs. But it's about developing those inner resources that help you navigate those challenges.
Things like gratitude, mindfulness, and self-compassion.
Yes, those are the tools that help you stay resilient, keep moving towards a life filled with joy and meaning.
You know, you mentioned the hedonic treadmill earlier. I'm really curious about that. Can you tell me more about what that is and how it impacts happiness? So you mentioned the hedonic treadmill earlier. I'm really curious about that. Can you tell me more about what that is and how it impacts happiness?
It's a fascinating phenomenon. Basically, it explains why that intense joy we feel after we get something we really wanted, it fades so fast.
Like getting a promotion or a new car.
Exactly. Even winning the lottery. The excitement wears off, you get used to it.
So you're saying that even positive changes don't guarantee lasting happiness?
That's the thing. Our brains are wired to adapt. It's a survival mechanism.
Makes sense.
But it also means that we have to be careful, about how we set our expectations.
I see. So if we're always chasing that next high, that next achievement,
we might miss out on the happiness that's already present, in those everyday moments.
This reminds me of what you said before about how 40% of our happiness is within our control.
That's right.
Understanding this hedonic treadmill thing seems really important for tapping into that 40%.
I think it is. Instead of just chasing after fleeting pleasures,
we can focus on what makes us happy long term.
Exactly. Building those strong relationships, practicing gratitude, helping others. You sent over an article about savoring, right?
Yeah.
Remember what it said? Taking the time to really appreciate positive experiences that can make those feelings of joy last longer.
Oh yeah, like being mindful of the good stuff, really being present in those moments.
That's the idea. And it doesn't have to be some big, extraordinary experience.
It could be something simple.
Absolutely. A delicious meal, a beautiful sunset, a good conversation with someone you care about.
Finding those little sparks of joy in everyday life.
That's it. It's about shifting our focus from what we're missing to what we already have.
Appreciating the good stuff.
Exactly.
This reminds me of something else you sent me, actually. That article on the power of perspective.
Oh yeah, perspective is everything. It's not about ignoring the challenges we face. It's about how we choose to see them. Do we see a roadblock or an opportunity?
Like, is the glass half empty or half full?
Right. It's all about mindset. And a growth mindset is so helpful here. It's not about pretending everything is perfect.
It's about seeing the potential for growth in every situation.
Exactly. It's about facing challenges with curiosity and a willingness to learn from them, believing that you can overcome them.
So you're saying setbacks are a part of life, but they don't have to hold us back.
They don't. And you know what helps with that?
What?
Self-compassion. You mess up, you make a mistake. Instead of beating yourself up,
You give yourself a break.
yeah, offer yourself kindness and understanding.
It's like we're always talking about being kind to others, but we forget to be kind to ourselves.
It's true. We're often our own worst critics.
We need to cut ourselves some slack.
Yeah, we do. Treat ourselves with the same empathy and support we'd offer a good friend.
It's like all these things we've been talking about. Gratitude, mindfulness, self-compassion, a growth mindset, connecting with others, giving back, living a life that's true to yourself.
It's all connected,
They all work together to create happiness.
like threads in a tapestry.
That's a great way to put it. So if you had to boil it all down, what's the most important thing to remember about happiness? What should our listener take away from this?
I'd say this. Remember that happiness isn't a finish line you cross. It's a journey. Your own unique journey.
Love that.
Embrace that journey, be kind to yourself along the way, and never stop exploring what brings you joy and meaning. That's what it's all about.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into happiness. I know I learned a ton. Hopefully our listener did too.
It was my pleasure.
And remember, everyone, happiness is a choice.
Choose wisely.
Choose often.
And choose well.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.